Sure. That's okay.
Thank you for Dr. Corey, the University Professor of Informatics and the Associate Dean of College of Business at Iowa University. Now, the second speaker is Professor Mشتاق Ahmed. Professor Mشتاق Ahmed currently serves as a Director of Georgia Tech Information Security Center. He is the Professor of the School of Computer Center at the Georgia Institute of Technology, Atlanta, United States. And would you please come, Professor Ahmed?
Thank you. As Corey said, I'm delighted to be here in Riyadh. This is the very first time. Actually, I've been in the kingdom, and this is something that I had always planned to do. It's really interesting that I came here to talk about information assurance. I think Corey really made a good argument. I'm going to talk about research, and that's important in this sort of a center. Because if you don't do research, this is a very rapidly changing, evolving field. The threats of yesterday have been replaced by new threats that we're going to be dealing with today. So research is important. A few words about where I come from. Georgia Tech is a technological university. It has invested heavily in information technology because information technology provides all kind of things that we do, from communications to transportation to energy, healthcare, whatever that you can think of. So obviously it's deployed in things that are of value. The other trend we have seen in the last decade is the threat scenario has gone from people sort of doing it for fun, defacing websites, to really a very sophisticated set of threats. So you have something of value, which is IT and systems enabled by IT, and a very serious threat scenario or adversary that's going to go after it. Obviously, security is something that we have to think about. IT without information assurance or IT security, in my mind, is not going to do any good for you or any of us. So before I get into some of the research trends that we need to be looking at, this is a report that our center issues every year. It sort of talks about the emerging threats that we are facing in information security. Now, why should we worry about? Corey was saying, well, it's simple. I tell my students you need to do 3 things. I sort of try a similar trick. I tell them security is very simple. You should know what you have. Is hardware you're going to trust? Do you have PKI or do you have something else? You also know what the threats that you're going to be dealing with. And then all you have to do is focus on how you can either sort of counter the threats that you face, have countermeasures, or do some mitigation type of work to at least live with those threats, given the system that you have. So the context for security, obviously, a major piece of that is what are the threats that we're facing and what is that we have to guard against. This report outlines, it's written, you can go to our website and download a copy, for sort of broader understanding of the kind of challenges that we face. And the threats that are most serious, we all sort of have some awareness of those. Malware is bad software, whether it's spyware or keyloggers or whatever it is. It gets to your machine. It's getting there not just to live there and do nothing, but either to steal information, sensitive information that you store on your machine that belongs to you or your organization or company or agency. And increasingly we are saying it gets there to control the resources that you have. Okay? It wants to make use of those resources. Like, I want to drive your car without your knowledge. It tries to do that with your computer. So you have these malcode or malware that sort of goes around, installs itself on computers that are not well protected. And now what we have seen in the last few years is that the computers are organized into large networks. They have a command and control structure. So a vast amount of resources form this botnet where there is someone who is controlling it, and then they can do all kind of bad things. They can deliver spam, they can mount phishing attacks that Corey was talking about. They can do denial of service attacks and things like that. So botnets is a massive, there are people who do research in our group have studied botnets that consists of several 100,000 computers at a time. Okay, these are controlled, coordinated threats that we're talking about. Interesting thing, we had communications, information technology and communication minister here. If you look at where communication is going, I'll talk a little bit about that, whether it's voice or IP or mobile devices that you and I all carry are looking more and more like our laptops and desktops. The threats that we have, that we face in the desktop world are going to migrate to the devices that we carry in our pockets. So the threats that these devices are going to face, which we're going to use to do mobile commerce, e-commerce, to do sharing of information and things like that, obviously they need to be protected. We need to worry about large-scale threats, not just a small company or a single company or an individual would face. We have seen examples of large-scale threats. The war between Georgia and Russia, the physical war, was actually preceded by some sort of a cyber. Now, who mounted that attack and how, there are all kind of theories about that. But these are nation-state kind of large-scale threats that we're worried about. And what is really fascinating is the underground economy, cybercrime economy, how people are actually trying to make money off it, and what kind of business models exist, how things really work in that world. They steal data, but what do they do with that data, and how they profit from it. We got to understand that. If we don't understand that, then we can't sort of take away the incentives that exist. So the research challenges, in my mind, we are building systems to the best of our ability, trying to secure them, people, processes, technology, but there is nothing like perfect security. It's just not going to be there because of the complexity, because of people, processes we understand as we go. So you have to monitor these large-scale networks that we're deploying. That this morning we're talking about every citizen in the kingdom is going to have an internet connection and a fairly powerful machine that bad people can reach and control. So we have to monitor, but monitoring large-scale systems produces large amounts of data. Well, how do you translate that to good information that helps you counter the kind of threats I'm talking about or mitigate their effects? That's a huge challenge. So monitoring, scalable monitoring, and making sense of the data that you get out of that is a challenge that we all need to. And I'll talk a little bit more details of what kind of things we need to do there. Securing emerging IP-based converged communication infrastructure. We see wireless, cellular, the internet that most people use today, they're all coming together based on IP platforms or IP protocol-based infrastructure. So all these are going to talk and interact using the same protocols we've been running on the internet side, which haven't been very secure, and we are adding more things. Hopefully we don't try the same old thing where we build it first and then think about security, because these threats are very serious. There is a technological, new trends, technology trends that we see. Virtualization is big. Well, what kind of implication does it have on security and protecting these kind of systems? And finally, technology is just one piece of it, maybe not even the largest piece of it. A lot of the focus of my talk. I was talking about the underground cyber economy. We had a number of people working in sort of understanding that and what's going on. You really have to change sort of the risk-reward equation the bad people work with. They have little risk and some of them profiting from it really well. So that certainly has to be changed. So let me talk a little bit about, I'm going to talk about research we are doing, but cybersecurity is a common problem that we all face. And these are hopefully the kind of challenges that we all need to undertake. It's no one place is actually going to solve this problem. A large project we're working on in the area of monitoring and making sense of what is normal and what may be abnormal or anomalous may represent an attack. There's a team from Georgia Tech. We lead it, but also involves people from University of Michigan, University of North Carolina, and Chapel Hill, and a whole bunch of companies. We cannot solve this problem without this sort of engagement. And I think the center here is trying to do something similar. I can tell you from experience that this is the way to go, and that's a wonderful thing that they're trying to do that. So the motivation here is the attacks are now clearly for gain. It's not lawful gain, but